Hello, and everyone, and welcome to another edition of the WMR show, the podcast highlighting men doing great things in the world. And I have another fantastic guest on today, Mr. Dylan Roos from Dylan Roos Coaching. How are you, brother?
Good, thank you. Very good. We were just talking off air for a little bit. We're on the precipice of a breakthrough, I feel. So I'm doing good, doing good.
Oh, that's something we haven't had, a live breakthrough. Maybe we'll have a live breakthrough today on the show.
Maybe, yeah, that'd be great.
Mate, I had a quick chat to you about what I normally do at the start of this podcast. It's really easy for me to edify the guests coming on and tell the listeners and the viewers about all the great things you are doing in the world, and you are doing great things. But I want you to tell the world and the listeners and the viewers, what are you doing in the world, man? What's lighting you up? What are you passionate about now? What's your business? Yeah, let everyone know.
Yeah, so I run a mentorship program called Prince to King. We work specifically with young boys, young men, 13 plus really, but most of the time 13 to 23. And we're working on essentially whatever their current challenges are. So it's really broad. We don't specify, we're not very specific to we help boys grow in confidence or we work on finding a job. It's really being able to work with anyone with where they're at and then helping them over a 12-month period, basically break down their limiting beliefs, implement some really good habits, install some really good positive belief systems, help them become more authentically themselves, communicate better, develop their leadership skills, find their purpose. So it's a range of things, and we act as that mentor archetype in society now for young boys, and it's something that's so close to my heart because I had great mentors growing up, and as I started to get into the space and as I started to get into the men's space and men's work, what I realized was how necessary it is that every single young boy, every single young man has a mentor so that they can make that leap from childhood into adulthood or child psychology into man psychology. And we just don't have enough of it at the moment. We don't have enough mentors for these young men, and we're sitting here wondering why they're struggling so much. And it is because they do not have mentors. They don't have male mentors that they can look up to, that they can learn from, that are imparting their wisdom, that have already gone through their own individuation process or their own process into adulthood and into man psychology. And that's why you see a lot of men today walking around looking like men, but really acting like boys. And it's really quite rampant. You've probably heard the term Peter Pan syndrome. So that's what we're seeing right now. We're living through an epidemic of Peter Pans where men are just not wanting to grow up. They don't want to take on responsibility. They don't want to step into their healthy masculine role. And so that's what we do. We help these young boys, these young men essentially make that leap into manhood, develop good habits, work on their mindset, all those sorts of things.
Mate, I love it. And this is why not only our conversations we've had over like getting to know each other recently and everything like that, it's a main reason I want you on here because you've really gone into a place where it's sort of, I don't like the word niche too much, but you've really niched it down, and like you're the boys, like bringing them into men. Like there's a lot of men's coaches out there, but they don't specifically target that that age group. And
Yeah.
I think it's absolutely fantastic, man, because it's like I've had young blokes, and I think I've spoken to you about that to coach. And I've had a young bloke come on now. He's an 18-year-old. And the cool thing I love about the young blokes and working with them, they don't have, like I had, 40 years of shit.
Yeah.
They got there. And when they get in a space, like I say, with the guidance, with the mentorship, with the structure and the strategy that you've got in place, um, at an earlier age, man, they apply themselves. It doesn't just change their life dramatically. It changed like society because that's where
Yeah.
society can change right now. So I love it, man.
Yeah.
You you you've spoken about what you do a little bit, and we'll touch on that a little bit more. But I'm curious, man. How did you get into this? Because in my book, you're a young bloke.
Yeah.
Like, how old
Yeah.
are you, man? You're like
30.
30. Like, I'm 47. So you're a
Yep.
young bloke to me, but you're in this space earlier. I wasn't even aware of this stuff in my 20s. Tell me, how did you find yourself in this, having this passionate, like, offering to the world. But how do you find yourself starting your own journey?
Well, I mean, I had as good an upbringing as you could possibly ask for. Two loving parents, no early deaths, like no grandparents that died. So I went to a good private school in the eastern suburbs of Sydney, grew up with money around me, good support network, everything. And I still found my way depressed, anxious, unable to get out of bed at 20, 21 years old. And so for me, that is why I do the work that I do. It's because with the again, the best upbringing that I could possibly have, I still struggled so much in this modern society, finding out my purpose, developing good habits, and making that step into adulthood. And to be honest, I really didn't make that leap until I became a father, 3 years ago now. So that's why I got into the work because I struggled so much in my early 20s. And now that I worse and worse and worse. And as I've stepped into the space, I've really realized the impact that the cultural messages and the social messages that we're feeding young men are having a super negative impact on where they're at. Like we have really demonized everything that makes men men and then wonder why men are struggling. And it's like, well, for most of us, we are so disconnected from our masculinity. We're so disconnected from the things that give us purpose, that allow us to show up in the world as protectors and providers, that we are now suffering through the greatest mental illness epidemic of all time. We're living through 7 out of 9 suicides every day being men. And I think the main reason for that is this disconnect to our own masculinity, the attack that we've seen over the last 20 years, and then the lack of male leaders, the lack of male mentors bringing boys along with them into manhood. And so we've got now, 2, 3 generations of men who have been under attack and have become very disconnected from what makes them men. And so, and then they're trying to raise their boys in that same environment. And so I think that is why one, it's so necessary, and two, why you're seeing this switch back to traditional masculinity, men's coaches, men's spaces, brotherhood, because we've realized, oh, we need this as men. We need a brotherhood. We need male mentors. And so when I'm talking to parents in my program or parents that are about to come into my program, for me, it's not like a nice to have thing anymore. You have to get your son mentors. Like you just have to do it now because the alternative is such a gamble, best case scenario, and the worst case scenario is, as we're seeing, suicide at a really large scale.
Yeah, and I think the suicide thing's coming more into the public eye with like sports stars and that sort of thing. And it's unfortunate that it takes that because it's more close to home. I go back, like the start of my journey was losing a good mate to suicide. That's like 12 or so years ago now. And even back then, it was a major problem.
Mm.
And it has sucked that it's come this far to now be in the public eye because of all the sports people. But you will see, you use the words we've been under attack, you will still see the narratives in the media to play it down.
Yeah.
It's part of the agenda. And I want to just go back to something you said there too around can you give I've got an example of you've talked about we haven't had the male role models. Now I'm going to talk in a more macro sense here. You have a
Yeah.
look around and look at our politicians. Now they're in the news all the time, and I'm not saying that a lot of people that listen to this don't watch the news on TV. We know that, but social media is way bigger than TV conditioning ever was. It's way worse than ever it was. Politicians are in our eye, in our face all the time. Sports stars and drama. Now I actually have compassion for sports star, and you're super connected to that field too.
Yep.
Don't want to make this podcast about your dad, but you're well across how a lot of they do one little thing and it's turned into a soap opera. But that's what young men are modeling. And that's the one way I see that this unconscious modeling or conditioning we've had as young men coming in, that's been a different sort of attack. Because when you hear the words attack, you're like, oh, they're at us and at us. The other thing I see in the media, they are. Again, politicians are one thing, the feminist movement, it's under attack of the man, and the generation leading into your generation, even my generation before that, men were unconscious to this. So, I'll, have you got a specific example what you see based on? Would you say maybe the conversations you have with the parents or the kids that come on where you've been able to highlight to them why maybe their son needs some mentoring or what has been they've been in that, I don't know if you want to call it social conditioning or stuff we've just touched on. What's a common thing you have conversations about with them?
Well, I mean, the best example that I use now is um, the rise in the red pill space, or more specifically, Andrew Tate, or the Tate-like influences.
I like this.
Why have they become, specifically Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate, the two most Googled people at one point in time? I think 2 years ago, 3 years ago, they were the most Googled people in a month, or in the year or something. Why does that happen? Because boys are seeking out mentors in silence. So I tell parents all the time, I'm like, listen, he's already got mentors. You just don't know who they are. They're just online now.
Yep.
And if you don't have a hand in picking your son's mentors, they will choose them. And I can guarantee you, if you're doing parenting half right, you will pick a better mentor than your teenage son,
Mm.
because you've got the experience, you're the adult, you understand what to look for, you understand what not to look for. And so you can start to go and pick and choose, like, okay, this is a really good example of what it means to be a man, and input that person into your son's life. And that is a parent's responsibility. I use my father as an example all the time because I think parents are still struggling with this idea that they have to do it alone. And my message to parents is, you do not have to do it alone. You were never meant to do it alone. Only in the last 60, 80 years have parents been trying to do it alone. Go back 100, 150 plus years, back to the beginning of time. We were always surrounded by a community. We were always surrounded by other men that would help raise our boys. So the parenting guilt of the 21st century is just the 21st century and the 20th century. It was known, hey, my son turns 13. It's not up to me anymore to impart wisdom. It's up to the people around him. I will still do my job and impart that wisdom. But what is the number one complaint of every single parent that raises a boy? He just doesn't listen to me. But what ends up happening is we end up blaming our son for that. And we end up saying, he just doesn't listen to me. And then we do nothing about it. It's
Mm.
like, okay, you know what the problem is. He's not listening to you, but he's going to listen to someone else. You know he listens to other people. So go find a mentor and put that mentor in your son's life so that you can take a deep breath and relax and go, great. I just keep living my life. I keep exercising. I keep communicating well. I keep leading my family, especially as a father. Your job is to lead your family through walking your talk. But for the most part, it's going to be the external influences that have the most impact on your son. By the time he turns 10, that's when it starts to shift. It
Yeah.
starts to shift. Like, hey, you no longer have you've got way less power than you think of your son once he turns 10. And it becomes the voices externally. So that's the best example, because Andrew Tate, again, I'll keep coming back to Tate, became the most popular person in the world. Why? Because we're not mentoring boys, and they sought out the loudest voice online, and Tate happened to be the loudest voice. And so again, we outsource this responsibility as parents, and we started to blame him and get angry at him and want to silence him. It's like, how about you listen to your son? How
Mm.
about you pay attention? Hey, dad, I'm following this guy because you haven't given me a mentor. Hey, mum, I'm following this guy because you haven't given me a mentor. Like, cool. Son, I hear you. Let me get someone who's better than this guy in. If you personally don't like this message, what did we end up doing as a society? We end up attacking our boys. We end
Yeah.
up attacking the Tates. We end up attacking the red pill space. We ended up attacking our boys instead of going, hang on, guys, let's listen, which is what we've been saying. Hey, men, talk, 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 talk. But what typically happens when men talk? We actually just attack them more. No, no, no. Don't talk. We'll tell you to talk, but we actually don't really want you to talk.
Yeah.
right? And then and then and then we don't create any sort of change or long-term solutions. I mean, the fact that we don't have the societal, governmental, community-based programs or even conversations to support men and boys is insane to me
Yeah.
because we looked at what was going on for women and we created initiative after initiative after initiative after initiative to help support them get into the workplace mainly, right? It was really about getting into the workplace. But we have men just killing themselves and we
Mm.
don't really care.
Yeah.
We're
It's
not too phased by it, right? Like, well, if we cared, we'd be doing stuff about it. Which is why, for me, I'm so passionate about it because it's like, yeah, okay, I have the power to do something. I'm going to do something. I'm going to stake my flag here in this space, probably similar to you, where it's like, okay, cool. I'm not going to sit here and complain about the government and society. Like that's just being a victim. I'm just going to create the program that I wish that I had when I was a teenager or when I was depressed and anxious at 20. And that's what I did. And that's why we're able to get such amazing results because myself and the other coaches inside the program have all lived the experience that the boys are going through.
yeah. I love it, man, and I love your passion, and I love the clarity you have around this too. It's like you're so clear on why you're here and what it is and what the gap is. And like I have a joke with my wife every now and then, but I'm actually serious. I'm like, well, when River, my son, when he gets to be 12, he's off into the world.
Yeah,
It's an
100%.
initiation, and it's like the only real example that I know of is you look at the indigenous to Australia, the Aboriginal people. It's like there's an element with the walkabout. As soon as
Yep.
that happens, the family dynamic changes. And I learned about this when I was in the mines, and I'm like, that's fascinating, but it makes so much sense. It's like the permission piece for the boy to become a man. Hey, you're going into the wilderness, you're on your own, you're going with your grandfather, not the father. You
Yep.
come back and the family dynamic changes, your role changes. That's exactly what you're bringing in a different sort of more modernized way and giving the permission piece to go, actually, this is, man, you're equipped now, you're
Yeah.
meant to be to initiate. And I like when you were talking earlier, when you were introducing what you do and talking about what you do a bit, there's a lot of men out there walking around. They're just big boys. They
Yeah.
are. They're big, immature boys, and society likes that because that's what they want. They use that as the example to demonize, like, look at these men. Men are this, men are that, because they haven't had an initiation. The work I do, man, seriously, I've got 40, 45, 50-year-old men that are coming to me basically for initiation into that man.
Yeah.
And they've lived this life of drama, of chaos, of like mediocrity,
Yeah.
really, playing small, of blaming. And
My favorite quote of all time, which I'm sure you've heard 100 times, and anyone in the space has heard, but hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. And we're living through the weak men creating hard times. Like for me, one of my biggest values is uh or what I try to stray as much as I can away from any sort of philosophy, any sort of podcast I do, any sort of coaching. It's like I don't want to be hypocritical in my line of thinking and the philosophy that drives my life. I don't want to be a hypocrite. I don't want to say men are leaders and then start to blame women, right? It's like, no, we are here because of the weak men that listened and fell into line underneath the which we don't hear this term, but the toxic women or the toxic feminine.
yeah,
And so we kind of fell in line underneath and we got told this is what it means to be a man by women. And it's like, no, no, you don't get to tell us what it means to be a man. You're a woman. I'm not going to sit here and tell you what it means to be a woman. I have 0 years experience as a woman. I cannot tell you how to show up as a woman. What
yeah,
I can do is I can tell you how to show up as a man
yeah,
because I've got 30 years experience of that,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
To steal I'm also Jags. If you end up watching this, I'm stealing some of his quotes. But like, it's really important. It's so important that you, the other men in this space, myself, we have to really find our voices now and start to speak out against this because I just came back from a father-son workshop on the weekend. We had 44 dads and their sons, and you have the individual conversation with these fathers, and they're all nodding their head. They're all like, yeah, absolutely right. But for most of us, the stepping up or the being seen or the stepping out against this social narrative that is being drilled into us, it's uncomfortable. It's scary. We don't feel like we can do it. And so for the guys that are in the space that are meant to be the leaders, our voices become even more important now because they get drowned out by the masses that are on the other side that are saying no, 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 this is toxic masculinity. The APA, American Psychology Association, came out I think 4 years ago, sometime in the last 5 years, and basically just said traditional masculinity is toxic. It's like,
I did
what do
see
you
that,
mean?
and I was just like,
Yeah, it's like, what do you mean? Like,
but I say the same
we're
to psychology.
hardwired.
Psychology for me goes in the same.
Yeah, we're hardwired a certain way, and you can't change that. You can't, no one's saying like the equivalent would be like giving birth is toxic to women or something. It's like, what? You were born to with this beautiful gift of bringing life into the world.
Yeah,
Does that's not toxic. And so the same thing for men is like the protector, the provider. But you mentioned something about these men, yeah, the boys in men's suit, right? It's like even in the red pill space, we've distilled masculinity down to just making money now.
yeah.
It's like make money, get into shape, and sleep with as many girls as you can. And so that's why I'm really, really passionate about my specific niche with boys, is because that's what they're listening to. So even on the side that is talking to men, the loudest voices are still not great voices.
Yeah.
Like, hey, keep some money, get into shape, sleep with lots of women. It's like you haven't spoken at all about character. You haven't at all spoken about protecting the weak, right? You haven't at all spoken about being a man of integrity, following through on your word. Now, making money, getting into shape, and learning about women, I would say, or having the ability to pick a mate, they're really important things for sure. But
Yeah.
that's not the bedrock of masculinity. That's not when you think of a good man in your own head. You don't think about, oh yeah, this dude, mate, he's on his yacht with 5 models and he's doing push-ups. Like that's not the image of a good man.
Nah, but it's the gap that was there, like you said, for say the Tates of the world to step into,
Yeah,
and it works well with the agenda and not putting responsibility on the agenda, but that's what us men have been up against, so to say, and that's why it does take that courage to be able to go, okay, I see that, and it's if you're a father, especially because you do target the parents a lot more. It's like here's a permission piece for you. Do you want your son to be led like that?
yeah,
Like they're not gonna that is the I see them like I love some of their stuff they put out. I love 60% of it. But it's
yeah.
the 40% is the immaturity. They're still big boys. What they're putting out is like keeping boys as boys.
Well, my one of my favorite terms is what is masculinity? Sacrificial leadership, right? Sacrificial leadership. And so I think it's really important that that becomes a really important message for boys when they're making that transition or looking at becoming men. It's like, guys, our job is to sacrifice for those around us. Like you will one day be the head of a family. That family will look to you to take on as much responsibility as you can. And that role is very sacrificial. It's not about taking what is yours and getting yours and making yourself happier and like scrounging for resources or scrounging for approval. It's like, no, you're really solid in who you are and you take care of those within your world. Jordan Peterson talks about, like make your bed, right? And that's what I like to talk about. It's like, hey, what can you do right now? Do that.
Yeah.
Then start to expand I talk about, my program is called Prince to King. So there's those themes of knights and kings, but it's like you got to expand your kingdom. What's in your area of control? What can you do? When I was 27, my my kingdom or my area of control was vastly smaller than what it is right now.
Mm.
because my responsibility, I became a father. I then split up with my son's mum. And so it's like, yeah, the weight of responsibility keeps growing and growing and growing. And if I'm not doing the work on myself as I'm navigating these challenges, I won't be able to bear the weight of my responsibility.
Mm.
And if I can't bear the weight of my responsibility, I'm useless. I'm useless as a man. We've kind of this we've been drilled to like again through this feminine lens of you're enough as you are. But if you speak to any man that's done even just a little bit of work, they know that that's bullshit.
Yep.
Nowhere, your mum and your dad, they will love you for who you are. If your dad's doing a good job, he will love you, but he will challenge the absolute shit out of you to be more,
Yep.
right? And that's the role of the father. But we're all just looking for our mothers to coddle us now. We're in our romantic relationships, in our friendships, man. Like the amount of friendships I've lost over the last couple of years and will probably continue to lose because they don't like being challenged. They don't like being called out. It's like, bro, that is what having a brotherhood is all about. Challenge me. Challenge me more. Help me rise. You know, what is the forging one? What's the forging analogy? I'm forgetting
I don't
um
know. There's a bunch of them.
the you know anyway, so that's what we're missing right now as a culture is that connection to the mature, healthy masculine.
I'll give you an example of this. I was telling you just before I got on this. I've had a challenging week, and
Yeah,
I can share this on the air. And I haven't spoken about this much, but my wife had a miscarriage on the weekend, and for me, it's been a very different experience. There's been some sadness and some grief, but it's been really short-lived, like very, very different experience. And the one thing that I know that I have around me right now, and it's taken a long time. Again, I'm 47 years old now. I didn't have this sort of thing in my 30s or my 20s. I have some really fucking solid men around me that the form of challenge they brought to me this week was in the form of, and it wasn't a sympathetic thing. It's like, are you okay? Do you need anything? Are you sure you're okay? Because it's easy for a man to go, oh yeah, she'll be right, she'll be right. And that challenged me in a way, a very different way, but I really appreciated that. I even had a call with a great mate of mine last night, Michael Sloggett, very successful in his own right. And he got on a call after I said, yeah, no, my priority is looking after my wife. So yeah, that's my priority. It's important. He goes, no, let's chat about you. And that was
yeah,
a challenge for me, but in a really healthy way, because I am all right. I'm
yeah,
good. But if I don't have that around me, what if I'm not? And you go
yeah,
back and link it into, you could go suicide and stuff like that with a lot of men. If you don't have them support networks, you
yeah,
need to be the one that has them around you, not the other way around. You don't wallow in your shit. But
yeah,
I've consciously over the years brought people around me. I have a small circle, but this week for me it's been so evident, and I'm so grateful that I took responsibility and go, this is something that I know supports me in my journey as a man. They're not there all the time. We don't go have fucking dinners and shit together and all that sort of stuff very up. We don't go and sing Kumbaya. No, but when there's a challenge there, the men rally together in a responsible, I don't know, self-led kind of way. That's been fantastic for me this week. And I think it speaks to what a lot of men don't have.
yeah. Well, I mean, women rely on men, children rely on men. Who do men have to rely on? Other men.
Yeah.
Right? You're doing your role as husband, partner, supporting your wife through this challenging period. And then you have your brothers that support you. And that's how it works. Like that's how it's meant to work.
Yeah.
Again, like the amount of the amount of messaging directed to men and young men about opening up, open up, open up, open up, open up, open up, talk to us, talk to us, talk to us. And then you do that with your partner. The amount of men that I've spoken to that have opened up to their partner and it has been used against them,
Yep.
or it is, or their wife or their girlfriend has been turned off by it. It is every single man has a story. Every single man has a story where, like, but hang on, you told me to open up,
Yep. It's
and
like
I did, and then
open up, but don't do it that way.
yeah. So I mean, and I'm on a constant journey where like I'm constantly learning. So you're going to find amazing women who can hold you in that for sure, without a doubt. But you still want to like rely mostly on your brothers, mostly on your men, so you can still show up as that safe rock. That is our role as men, to be the safe rock. Now, how I communicate that to the boys that I mentor and the parents, even, some of the dads even, it's like you want to show up emotionally regulated. Like, yeah, I
Yeah.
can I can go to my partner and be like, yeah, look, it's tough. It's a tough week, but I'm good. I'm solid. You can still like, yeah, listen, I might be a little bit shorter this week because of what we're going through, but just know I'm good. And then you are, if you need to break down, if you need to have those things, yeah, you're doing that with your brothers, with your men. This
Yeah.
narrative that like the reason men are committing suicide is because they're not opening up. Where's the evidence of that? Well, I
Yeah.
show me the evidence. If you show me that, I'll shut up about it.
Yeah.
But I've been working this space for 7 years. I've been mentoring boys for 5. There's no evidence, as far as I'm concerned, that the reason men are suiciding is because they're not talking about their emotions.
Yeah.
I don't see that. Where's the evidence?
Yeah.
I just came across this just recently, which is um, uh, they did a huge study on the suicide notes of boys and men. And the two main words that they found in the notes was useless and unworthy.
Mm.
So we know, like, we as men love to be useful. We love, once we've made that leap into adulthood and manhood, we love to be useful. We love to sacrifice. I know the best that I feel. We were just talking about this in the men's in a men's group that I'm a part of on yesterday actually, and we were all every man in there was saying how much better they feel when they are of service to their partner, their community, their kids, whatever, rather than when they're skirting responsibility.
Yeah.
Like it's like, oh, I'm shying away from this. Oh, I actually feel shit. I should not be skirting away from responsibility. I need to be stepping up. So I think that's also like the social messaging that we're delivering to men is actually feeding into and making it worse for men.
Yeah, I love that. There's so much in what you just shared there. I want to just circle back to one of the things you said about there is this messaging out there, open up, open up, open up, express, express, express. I'm going to give you a real life example of me and my wife. We're very self-conscious, self-aware. We're in the space. We have been for both of us over a decade each. And so it's 20 years between us. So we're self-aware, but we're in a relationship and we still trigger each other every now and then. But we caught a couple of years ago, and it took a bit to actually see this play out, this underlying pattern where I'm very expressive, but I'm very expressive sometimes when I'm triggered too. I'm like, get it out. I'm a fight response in my nervous system. Very aware of this. I can regulate, but sometimes no. Sometimes something she does or says, like, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm real with this. And we picked up on this underlying pattern where I was expressing yourself, but it was my, I was doing that. And the way she reacted was literally playing what my mother would have and going into her shit and going into it. Then I feel bad about being so expressive and triggering her into her shit. Now, this is deep, complex stuff, and we've got lots of awareness. And when we sort of saw this pattern play out, it was actually like, it was super profound, by the way, for our relationship, where then we could come from a place of, we didn't stop expressing, but then it was like me getting really good at, okay, I'm triggered or I'm angry about something and just being good at saying no. I'm not available for the next part of this. And
Yeah.
then that stopped playing out the shame or anything like this. Because what I see with men, what you're talking about, I express, and the women are like, yeah, do it, but not that way. That's the toxic part. And then it verifies whatever there. But it's like men need to get really good at, again, knowing what is true to them. Is it a
Yeah.
trigger? Is it anger about, again, I'm not good enough or I'm not whatever? Get self aware around that stuff and get really good at saying no for what comes next because of you being strong or you being grounded. And again, we want men to express themselves and continue to, but it can be short and sweet, and energy is the key behind it. I think that's the thing too. And if your woman gets scared about that, you need to just let it go so she can take some responsibility.
Yeah. No one is responsible for how another person feels.
No.
Now, my job is not to uh, impose any sort of threat onto my partner or threat onto on my friendships or threat onto people. But like, if you're not feeling safe or not feeling heard or whatever the emotion is, that's on you to figure out. Now, I'll be there to like, hey, hold space. If you need to talk about it, sure. But we've got to start to be adults. Like, I am safe because I'm an adult
Yeah.
and I take care of my shit and
Yeah.
I don't put that onto other people,
Yeah.
right? And again, the very things that women are attracted to when they first start dating a man, right? He's purpose based. He's strong. He knows what he wants. He's emotionally intelligent. He communicates clearly, right? That also comes with like strong boundaries. That also comes with saying no a lot. That also comes with knowing our worth and what we will and won't put up with. And what are the things that, generally speaking, broadly speaking, women try to change in us? Are those very things. So
Yeah.
it's like you have to be really solid in yourself now as a man to know who you are and stand in that and be like, this is who I am. I'm not going to listen. I'm not going to like have this long drawn out communication process and talk about my feelings because that's just not who I am.
Hmm.
Now there's gonna be a spectrum. Some guys are gonna want to talk a little bit more. Some guys are not gonna want to talk as much. That's okay wherever you fall in that spectrum, as long as you're showing up, you are in a healthy headspace. You've got your brothers that can support you, right? You're showing up in the world in a good way. You're sacrificing. You're taking on responsibility. You have some purpose. Great. These are the things that women are very attracted to. They did this study with even the most liberal women in America, and even the most liberal women in America still want more conservative, traditional masculine men. And it's really funny because everything's become politicized now. It's really
Yeah.
funny because it's political, but that's nature playing its course. Women, the nature of the feminine wants the nature of the masculine, and the nature of the masculine wants the nature of the feminine. And so, because it's become politicized, it's like, well, I don't want the traditional conservative man, but it's like, but you do.
Yeah.
You do want
So what are
that.
you saying?
That is what they're attracted to.
Most of the liberal women out there in America really like Trump, don't they?
Oh my geez. Yeah, they love him. Yeah, yeah,
But it's so true, man. And again, like we're talking a lot about like all the things that are on the environment on the outside that have really played, we've been unconscious to, but have sort of put us in this position as men right now. And I'll come back to why I love what you're doing with young men. It's like bringing that awareness, not only bringing that awareness to them, say, hey, yeah, this is how it's been in society up until now, but you've got this opportunity to be a leader of the future. You've got this opportunity to take responsibility for yourself now. Learn a bunch of stuff about yourself. Learn how to like love yourself and be yourself and own what is true to you or what's important to you and come from that space.
yeah,
Man, that's exactly what I love about what you're doing because it's like that's what will change the world. We can't change. There's a lot of people out there can't, they won't change. They won't. The only way they will change, even some of the parents you've probably got coming to you are probably really resistant or reluctant for their boy to come through. But then parents won't change. But if the boy changes, the parents have got no choice but to change to associate with him. Same with other people in society. And the more boys coming into men that come into society like that, society's going to have to interact differently with them, not the other way around.
yeah. Well, it's much easier to build strong men than it is to repair broken men.
Oh, yeah.
And so, if we can start from the ground up and return back to some of these things, these rites of passage, this healthy maturation process into adulthood. We return back to this, the community, the mentors. Then we start to solve a lot of the problems that we have at the root cause level and not just address the symptoms continually. And then the symptoms change, and then we got to fix the next symptom and then the next symptom. It's like, no, let's get to the bottom of it. Let's raise the next generation of boys and men in the best way that we can. We're not going to get it perfect. We're not going to get it right 100% of the time, but we can do our best,
Yeah.
certainly. And then they'll do their best, and then they'll be better equipped to raise the next generation. And so at the moment, we're definitely progressing backwards. Like we've become fatter, we've become more mentally ill, we've become more confused. Like, not to pick on any one group of people, but like
Pick
this
away,
whole,
dude.
I mean, we're living in a time where to call a man and a woman makes you a bigot.
Yeah.
And it's like, what clown world are you living in? Like, why are we bowing to what I would say are mentally ill people who need love and support, but not the affirmation of their delusion?
Yeah.
If I'm depressed and anxious and I come to you and I say, "Hey, mate, I'm suicidal," and you go, "Yeah, you should follow that feeling and you should commit suicide," you'd go, "What the
What?
fuck, did Steve? Just tell Dylan."
Yeah.
Like we're doing that, and then that just bleeds into the rest of society. We're so confused. We don't know our role as men. We're not sure what our purpose is. Boys, again, do we hold the door open? Do we pay for the bill? Do we be a leader? Do we not? Do we take a step back? And what you're finding is that the men who just continually show up as masculine men, traditional men with, a few changes from, I'm not saying let's go back to the 60s by any stretch of the imagination, but these modern masculine men who are still deeply connected and rooted to their masculinity, they are the ones that are getting married, having kids and having families. And for lack of a better term, these more beta men aren't. And they're struggling and they're listening to women and they're saying, how do I show up? How do I show up? How do I show up? And they're listening and listening and they keep failing and failing because nature will take its course. And again, the nature of the feminine will seek out the nature of the masculine.
Yep.
And the nature of the feminine wants the nature of the masculine. So you can listen to women, you can be, okay, I need to open up more and talk more. You're just going to end up leading yourself to destruction. And so that's why it's so important to follow men that you look up to and respect. That's why my program exists. It's like, hey, we've walked the talk, we've been there, we've done that. We've also lived through the crazy time that is right now. For a lot of parents, it's like, listen, even if you're sharing your experiences as a kid, which is a good thing, your experiences as a kid are completely different now. Like we've really, my grandparents' generation compared to my dad's generation, not a huge difference. Sure,
Yep.
some differences, but you could relate a lot. My parents to me was probably just on the brink of being able to relate, but then technology like iPhones came out when I was 15 and computers and all that. So not a lot. Now, like if you're a 45, 46-year-old dad with a 16-year-old son, mate, you have not lived remotely close to what your son is going through. You can't
Yeah.
relate to the struggles on technology because that's the biggest one. He's on his screens all the time. He's not going outside and playing. I was always outside on my bike playing with friends. It's like, yeah, well, you didn't have computers, you didn't have PlayStations, you didn't have phones.
Yeah.
So, it's become really difficult to parent the next generation because there isn't that connection piece.
Yeah, totally. I was just thinking last night in my men's mastery program, Excel. I was talking to the men at the start, and something come up around. I don't know. We're talking about money, and I was talking about coins, and I just had this thought. I'm like, holy shit! I was born in the '70s, so gold coins weren't even a thing then. And
Yeah.
I don't know how it come up in conversation, and it was like, wow, that's so interesting how rapidly that's changed through there. And you're right. There's this. I feel I've been consciously aware of that part of the conversation. I've been doing this stuff for about over a decade now, and the technology thing, I'm glad I dived into it early. It
Yeah.
wasn't a conscious thing because I'm going to connect with like future like men and stuff like that, but I'm glad I did because I still feel I have a place, and even the work I do, we do online, we do use a lot of tech now, and I'm glad
Yeah.
I do that because without that, there's no way I'd have any idea. Like I say, I've got a young bloke now. He's 18, but I can talk to him on a level that we both understand because
Yeah.
I've got an understanding too because I've been in that world for a while. But it is unique. I also see that too. I see a lot of, again, I go back to what I said earlier. There's a lot of men's coaches out there, but they won't work with young blokes. They won't,
No.
or their methodology will not work with young blokes. So again, it's like more men like you. And a question in your program, is there a piece or a part or a pathway for some of the young men coming through to go on to be able to start to go into mentoring as well?
I've got one young man that came through the program when we first started. He's looking at potentially becoming a coach, but I think for so many of the boys that we're working with, they're starting, they've got so many other things that they need to work on before they start to coach other people,
Yeah.
that it's quite rare. Plus, the boys that potentially could become a coach or are doing well enough to become a coach, they've already got their they've already got a plan in place, or they've got an area of study they want to go into, or they know the career path that they want. It's very rare, that we get a boy who's doing really well and doesn't know what he wants to do. Like it
Yep.
kind of goes hand in hand, and it's why I struggled so much in my early 20s was I didn't know what my purpose was. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know what made me useful to society. And so that's what I spent my whole 20s was figuring out, well, what's my use? What's my purpose here? What am I here to do? And then I found coaching at, 25, I think it was 26.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I love that. And it's just a curiosity piece too, because I do see an evolution in that space as well. And the thing I love about coaching in general is like you can coach on anything. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be like what we do, again, like the initiation process and really helping people really get their shit sorted and get aligned and be on purpose. But you can coach on anything. And I had he's an off and on client for me. He was a client for a long time. He's a young bloke. He's 26, but he come to me when he was like 20 for relationship stuff, and
Yeah.
that's a young bloke's thing too. But I was just like blown away. He's like, I want to work on this. How do I relate?
Yeah.
How do I
Yeah.
like communicate? And I'm like, cool. Now he'd evolved to there, and he started. He was a physiotherapist, and he started coaching runners. Now he's an elite running coach and an
Yeah.
elite runner. That evolved from there, and he brings a lot of the tools he learned with me early on in communicating and values and living through values and this to his clients as like this extra addition. He's not your run of the mill coach. And I don't know. I just see an evolution. If you're bringing men to even question, like, why am I here in their teens or early 20s? Like, that's a 20-year start on me nearly. And most of the blokes I've got, I can only imagine where they'll be in their mid 20s or late 20s, where you are now, where it's like, I feel there is a big piece or a big gap there where how good would it be to have men that have had that experience already, that have now got some life experience as well? Maybe not as much as some of the older blokes like us, but then they can go and mentor more young men as well. I see that's the pathway where we change the world.
Yeah, definitely. You're seeing it a little bit here and there, like the podcasting space, like Chris, I think his name's Chris Griffin. I think Griffin. Um, he's got one of the bigger podcasts in Australia. He's like 23, 24, and like
Yeah.
killing, and it's like cool, man. That's bloody awesome. Like me at 23, 24, I was, off drinking and sleeping around and acting like an idiot. So we've got to remember that our standards have dropped drastically over the last 100 years. Like your average 100 years ago, you know, your average mid 20s was coming back from war and like would be married now after post World War One, and then maybe is look like would fight in World War Two. Like so, we had these examples of masculinity that we essentially killed off through the world wars, and then and all the wars in the 20th century. Like so many of the good men that were leading the way, we sent them off and they died, and
Yep.
then their sons were raised in single mother households or without father figures, and then we lost a lot of that piece around what does a man look like? What does a healthy man look like? And so we kind of lost it. So we're seeing a return back to that now where people are doing the work. Men's coaches now, most people are now familiar that there are such things as men coaches and they know what that kind of looks like. So we're seeing a return back to raising the bar and raising the standard for each other because it's fallen so far. When men behave poorly, everyone starts to behave poorly, and just like OnlyFans has taken off, and the amount of men that drive that business and drive that, but then simultaneously are upset and angry at women for being whores and sluts and prostitutes. It's like, well, you're feeding into this narrative yourself. Like, take some responsibility. Stop watching porn. Stop paying these OnlyFans models. Unfollow all the girls that you don't know online. Like,
Yep.
men are driving that whole industry. We have to
Yep.
take responsibility for being the consumers of that content. You remove all the men from that, there's no reward for these women to do the job, to do the work. They're not making the money. They're doing it because there's money there.
Yep.
Again, we as men have to take responsibility. Again, for me, Everyone can have their own personal philosophy. For me, my personal philosophy is men are leaders. So I have to filter everything through, well, this is men's responsibility. How do we get here? Weak men creating hard times. But we're in the hard times, so what the gift of being in hard times is the next generation of men are going to be really good men.
Yeah, 100%. And I go, you might look around now, and I see it all too often, especially from women, but even like, where are all the good men? Where are all the men? I think for anyone listening and tuning in, you do need to know that there is a big movement happening behind the scenes, but it's fucking slow because more men do need to take responsibility. More men need to do, okay, cool, I want to do something about this, and this. And when you do take responsibility, it's the first step. It's only the first step. Being vulnerable and just talking about it does fuck all, to be honest. I'm straight up about that. Going and sharing your feelings with anyone, that's great. It's honorable, but you got to do something about it. Do you really want to sort out your problems, or do you really want to sort out, are you sick of being single? And you know that porn's filling the gap, or like you say, OnlyFans are going to get out. You're like, are you aware that there's something missing? Like you're lacking that
Yeah,
energy or drive. If you are, just know that there's people like us out there that this is why we're on the planet. Because once upon a time, we probably felt similar, but
yeah,
we got out of our own way and fucking said, no, fuck it. I'm not going to tolerate this anymore. I'm going to set, you mentioned setting higher standards. As a generation, we're not setting higher standards. I'm going to set my bar a bit higher, and I'm going to strive for that. And then when I get there, I'm going to strive for more. And
yeah,
again, I'm like, I feel like I'm blessed because it took a mate to commit suicide for me to shock me to get out of my own way. I knew I had lots of problems, still had a good career and a good job, but fuck, if I had kept doing that, man, I'm,
yeah,
again, it sucked that my mate committed suicide, but I'm glad that that experience, I was in that, because it had me go, fuck, I feel empty. I do feel lost, and I
yeah.
want to do something about it. And I did something about it. And the rewards come, I'd say they come really fast. Man, I went from single guy who couldn't even talk to women.
Yeah.
Now, then I couldn't shut up after I got into this work, and I had fucking women all around me. But I tuned into what I truly wanted. I wanted to be in a family. I wanted to be a father. That shit happened so fast, and I had some of the cruxes, some of the habits. I just eliminated them.
Yeah.
So for men out there, if you're listening, it might seem hard to go cold turkey on the little things you keep in your life just to keep you safe and all that. But man, if you just wipe it and say, nah, fuck, I deserve better, and just go for it.
I mean, to keep honing in on the same messaging, it's why brotherhood is so important because then you get the support of the other men who challenge you to keep going. Like, hey mate, checking in on you. How you doing? You know, I just shared yesterday with my group that I've known for like 5 years or so now, at least 5 years. I'm like, I know what I have to do, and I so don't want to do it. But I know that my next evolution for me is going 6 months on like a feminine cleanse, like 6 months celibate, massive feminine. And I'm like, man, I really don't want to do this. But
Yeah,
I've known for 5 years or so, that's where my that's where it lays. And now that I'm single again, coming out of the relationship with my son's mother, I'm like, man, Dylan, yeah, literally yesterday, it was like sharing with my men's group. It was like, I just so don't want to do this. And they're challenging me like, no, follow through. You have this. If you know that this is where your work lies, do it.
yeah,
Right. And so I'll use that men's group to hold me accountable. I've messaged a couple of friends, hey, I'm doing this. Hold me accountable. Like, don't let me slip. Right. We
yeah.
think that we have to do it ourselves. Um, but the support network that you get from the brotherhood will help you achieve those goals and then get the benefit of whatever those goals are. But you have to kind of lean in. Like even when I was typing it up on the call, I'm like, man, do I even want to hit send here? Because if I hit send, they're gonna hold me accountable to this, right? Like, oh, far out. So, mate, 6 months time, we can touch base and see what I've learnt in the next 6 months and whether or not I stuck to my goal or my feminine cleanse.
I'll hold you accountable. Otherwise, we won't
Yeah,
talk again. And
I
I
know,
enjoy
yeah,
our talks.
exactly, yeah. So it's it's the missing piece for men. It's the missing piece, the
Here's
challenge.
the challenge. Here's the thing. In our natural wiring, our biology, men are stimulated by a challenge. Cool shit happens in our body when we are confronted by something that's confronting. It's like, holy fuck. We get activated, but so many men shy away from that activation of the challenge these days. And I'll say it, they are fucking pussies.
Yeah.
When in essence, if they just stepped into it and say, all right, I've got this, even though every part of me is freaking out or doesn't believe it, I'm going to do it because I'm built for this. And because we are stimulated by that, everything will work in our favor if we keep stepping into that. It's how we're built.
What we've told men to feel. Feel, feel, feel. Your emotions matter. Your emotions matter. Your emotions matter. It's like, again, any good man that's done the work understands that your emotions will feed you information, but it's up to you to understand, interpret that information, and then make certain changes. Like if you're anxious and you're like, I don't feel good today, I'm going to stay home and get under the covers because I don't feel good and I'm going to take a rest. Guess how you're going to feel the next day?
Yep.
Even worse.
Yep.
I wake up and I go, oh man, I feel anxious. Why do I feel anxious? Well, I got a shit night's sleep last night. Okay, sleep's probably playing into it. I didn't exercise for 3, 4 days. That's probably playing into it. Actually, I've been sitting in front of my computer for the last week and I haven't gotten outside. That's probably playing into it. Okay, cool. Let me get out of bed. Let me go hit a workout. Let me go for a walk in the sun. Let me go for a swim. Guess how you'll feel?
Yep.
You'll feel
Yeah.
much better. What we've fed the narrative has been feel your emotions, feel your emotions, feel your emotions. Don't push, don't push. It's the pushing that's killing men. It's like, no, it's not. It's just not. It's actually the opposite. It's the caving to our emotions and then making poor decisions based on our emotions that are leading men to kill themselves at higher rates.
Yeah.
If you use it as a, oh my gosh, this life event has triggered something in me that I can work on and move through and heal so that when that thing happens to me again, I no longer feel it. Or like going into the gym, I do 5 sets and I'm sore. Then I get to go into the gym 3, 4 days later, do the same thing, but put a little bit of extra weight on. Oh, I'm getting stronger. Oh, I'm getting stronger. In a year's time, I go back and I put that original weight on and I'm just pumping it out. It's like that's the metaphor of life.
Yep.
You
And it's
don't go and go, oh, this is hard. I'm going to do one and I'm going to come back in a year's time and see how I go. You're going to atrophy. You're actually going to get worse. People think they stay in the same position. No, bro. You're always moving. You're always in a constant state of motion. You're either moving forward or you're moving backwards. There is no just, I'm just going to stay here where I am.
Yeah, I call it emotional fitness. And like I teach my men how to train. Absolutely, I want them to feel, but the feeling doesn't mean the story that goes with it means, oh, you've got to stop.
Yeah.
Because that's what I say. And people, when you stop, and again, as men, I totally, we are different than women. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all process it differently. We have different styles of processing, but that energy we have in emotion, it's a fucking fuel. It's actually a fuel. It's not a fuel to stop. It's a fuel to go, okay. And again, I'll give the example of this week. I've had so many people reach out to me this week. And I'm like, you know what? And my close mates, I'm like, no, I'm actually fucking super motivated this week. And they're like, that's awesome, man. But other people are reaching out, projecting, oh, you need to stop, you need to slow down, you need to disconnect. I'm like, fuck off. This is
Yeah.
just how I'm feeling. I've just got this motivation. Again, I go right back when I lost my mate to suicide. I'm like, all right, what's over here? I'm fucking going to get that. Yeah, this sucks, but I'm not going to fucking wallow in it. And again, it's that emotional fitness that I teach, and there's so many things that I teach my men. When they start actioning that, they're like, holy fuck, the things don't linger. The habits don't creep in like the scrolling or the porn. They're not available for that because they're on the front foot.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, you've got to keep coming back to what successful men do or what men that you look up to do and talk about. And so if I look to the feelings crowd and then I look to the stoic crowd, it's pretty fucking clear who I want to follow. Like it's really obvious. I want to follow the stoic crowd,
Mm.
right? But I think this misconception around like the 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 feelings and the emotions, right? That's the biggest thing that I see because you've got one side saying feel everything and feelings are important. You've got another side on the extreme that says like don't listen to your feelings at all and they're stupid. It's like that middle ground of your emotions are there to tell you something. Like if I'm depressed and anxious, some general form of change your life. Your
Yeah.
life is shit.
Yep.
That's why you're depressed and anxious.
Mm.
So figure out what's going on, figure out why you're not happy, figure out why you're anxious, make the necessary changes, and then guess what happens? The anxiety and the depression goes away, but then you'll be faced with the next evolution
Then
in
you'll
your
get angry, and then you'll get
yeah,
fucking, you'll have
exactly
fear and
like
doubt come
it,
up because you're
it
setting bigger goals. And
yeah,
yeah,
it keeps going. It's so funny. I was listening to this. I'm a big anime nerd. I love my anime, and Dragon Ball Z was one of the big ones that I grew up on.
yeah,
And I was listening to this like motivational, like edits on YouTube or whatever while I was work. I was going for a walk, and one of the main protagonists was talking to his son about you think that you're training for this enemy, but what about the next enemy, and then the next enemy, and then the next enemy, and the next enemy? Like it doesn't stop here. And I had this moment, and it gives me goosebumps talking about it now, and it gave me goosebumps. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, yeah, Dylan, you realize that all the problems you have right now, or the thing that you're working on right now, it doesn't like, there's no end. There's no like, once I figure this thing out, then I'll be good. It's like, no, bro, you'll figure this out, and then the next thing will show up that you'll then have to combat. And
yeah,
so it was a big mindset shift for me away from an end goal to just enjoying the process of life. Like, okay, I'm going through something really hard right now, splitting from my partner, being a single dad, trying to figure out that, navigating my emotions, trying not to numb, trying to figure out what these emotions are trying to tell me about myself so that I can basically kill off what doesn't serve me and step more authentically into myself. But then the next thing will hit me. And I was like, oh shit, that's right. Like, yeah, there's always going to be something.
yeah,
Another level, another devil.
100%.
Right?
Yeah,
You level up, there's going to be another devil to meet you there. You level up again, there's going to be another devil to meet you there. Always going to be something to be worked on. So if I'm working to an end goal, I'm going to get tired, I'm going to get exhausted, I'm going to get frustrated, I'm going to give up because I'm like, where's the end goal? It's like, no, no, no. There's no end goal. The story of Sisyphus, right? Which is Greek mythology, where he basically gets cast into the underworld, or gets cast somewhere onto a mountain where he has to roll a boulder up the hill, and every day it restarts. So his whole life for eternity, he's still doing it now. He just rolls the boulder up, and that was the way that the gods got back at him because he was always outsmarting the gods. I'm trying to remember the story better, but he was always outsmarting the gods. So I think it was Zeus sent him down to roll this boulder up. And he gets the last laugh because at the end of every day when he rolls it up the top, he smiles. And it's like the story that you take from Sisyphus is, yeah, that is life. You are just constantly rolling a boulder up a hill and then it resets the next day. But the lesson is that is to smile as you're doing it, to take enjoyment out of the process, out of the pain, out of the suffering. That is life. And
yeah,
so I love that story because it's just a good reminder. Yeah, man, I'll overcome being a single dad and whatever triggers I'm working through right now, and then I'll be hit with whatever the next thing is, you know?
yeah.
And I'll be hit with the next thing and the next thing.
100%, man. I always say it's like people like we've got this attachment. And again, you and I are both very humble in this too. We know that the next thing's going to be, and we know that we're probably going to have our shit come up. We know that we're going to not want it and that, but we face it. I always say it's like when people like talk about manifestation and all this, and like they're like, well, I can't manifest anything. I say, well, you actually are. It's just that when you open that box, you think it's the end goal. It's another challenge. That's
Yeah.
part of the process. You need to confront that. You need to work through that. And so many people get stuck on that and they're like, nah. And that's why they stay in mediocrity. It's like,
Yeah.
nah, I'm just going to settle. I
Yeah.
need a break. Well, what do you mean you need a break? What, from life?
Yeah. But
I,
I think we're just living through a time of really low standards.
hmm.
Really low. And what held standards up? Masculinity held standards high.
Well, it's a masculine structure. That's
It's structure, it's
standards.
order, it's standards. These are masculine things. That's not to say that women don't have standards, but
Hmm.
it's just a masculine way of relating to the world. It's a masculine way of holding people accountable, right? It's the masculine that maintains order around the chaos. And because we've attacked masculinity, we've actually attacked standards. Like the main conversation has been around tolerance. We need to tolerate, be more tolerant, tolerate. And it started off great because we needed to tolerate differing viewpoints or different cultures or, you know, um, different sexual preferences. But then it became tolerating degeneracy and tolerating
Mental
dickheads,
illness.
tolerating mental illness. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, what are we really
You
tolerating now?
get what you tolerate, and what we have in society right now is on us because yeah, and again, I love the fact if every single human, be it men or women, can say, "Hey," and have a look at their own kingdom, queendom, whatever you want to call it, and go, "Okay, what standards am I setting myself here?" And if you raise the bar for yourself and you strive for that, the world will become a better place really easy. But I think that's the society we live in. It's not about taking responsibility. It's that conditioning around is like point the finger. Oh, it's because of them. It's because of that. Because of this. And even our conversation today, you could easily take from it, "Oh, what's happened in society? This is why men are." Yeah, that's a reality, but the solution's not in pointing the finger at that. It's bringing it back here and go, okay, I can do something about this. What am I doing about this?
Yeah.
I want to close out this because it's been a great conversation, but I want to circle back to the program you do with the young blokes, like Prince. What is it, Prince to Kings?
Prince the King.
If anyone out here is listening and has heard Dylan speak, he's extremely passionate, and this is why I love our conversation. I'm so grateful that you've come on the pod to share that passion. If there's anyone listening out there, be it a parent or even be it a young bloke, and I know a few young blokes listening here, what would you say to them related to your program, or even to having a conversation about what you've been talking about, maybe about doing something in their life? What would you say to them?
To, to the parents, I would say your job is to lead through your actions, not through what you say. And the best piece of advice I can give them is to find a mentor for their son. Like, there's not going to be parents will die for their kids. I'll do anything for them. Like, yada, yada, yada. It's really simple. Become the best person that you can, work on your own stuff, and work on your relationship with your spouse. The magnifying glass should not be on your son, it should be on yourself. And then go and get a mentor.
Yeah.
Go and get your son a mentor, especially he gets into high school, year 7, go and get a mentor. To the young men listening, it's a very similar piece of advice, which is one, don't be ashamed of your masculinity. You are a boy or a young man, and that is a good thing and it's a necessary thing, and we need more men being men. And then it is humble yourself, realize that you have your entire life to work on yourself, and go and get yourself a mentor. Like, go and get yourself someone that will help you get to where you want to go because it fast tracks the process. I've got working with 2 coaches right now or 2 mentors right now. I've had countless mentors. I've had dozens of mentors in my life. I've had business coaches. I've had therapists. I've had kinesiologists. I've had, you name it. I've done it. And so I am where I am today because of those people. I was able to pull myself out of depression and anxiety because of the people around me. I was able to make multiple 6 figures in my business because of the people around me. I was able to impact hundreds of people through my program because of the people around me. And the second that you start working on yourself is the second that you realize how little you know. And for me here, like the goal for me is always to grow. Like, that's one of my number one values is growth. Because if growth is my number one value, I will be able to overcome under the pressure that those challenges give me. So that would be my 2 messages, but very closely linked.
Yeah, I love it, man. I love it. And again, have a listen back to this episode if you've got into it, because the answers are in there too. The answers of all the way through this, and I'm sure there's probably so many more tangents we could go on, man, that are very relevant, relative. But I just appreciate the time and energy, not only that you've put into coming in today and sharing a lot about what you do and what drives you and what you see in the world and what you see as a solution to, but just the work you do, man. I think it's just absolutely fantastic, and you're definitely leading the way. It's very unique and needed. So, yeah, thank you so much for what you do, mate, and thank you for your time today.
Thank you, brother. That was awesome.
And make sure everyone tuning in that you check out Dylan's links down below. Get in touch with him if anything resonated today. Even reach out and connect with him. Follow along with his stuff on the socials. Again, he's doing great things in the world. And be sure to tune into the other episodes that are coming your way. Thank you, everyone.